Heather, Heather, it's been close to a year now since you and I first met. I believe this
9 months.
month is actually in June, was it not, that you started
uh,
with
Yeah,
Autonomic Coaching?
it was end of June, so 9 months on the supplements tomorrow.
Wow, wow,
Mm.
it's been a magnificent journey where I've seen you come from a point where you're frowning to a point where you're continually smiling and radiating just absolute beauty, light, and just a lot of love for life. I think that you've rekindled such a love in your own life, and not only the work that you do, but who you are as a person and how you've
Yeah.
shone through. Um, Today we're here just to express and to really glorify, because it really is something to be exonerated, the story of your own hero journey, the way in which you got to become a heroine in your own right, in your own life, and that you were the one that actually took the step to save yourself from a state that wasn't necessarily living at the best vibration that you were capable of living in. So Heather, just for those out there that don't know you as intimately as all of us here at Autonomic Coaching do, would you mind just to give everybody just a little bit of background about what you do, who you are, and basically what it motivates you in order to get your life back into the most optimal health possible?
Sure. So I am a bit of a machine. I go at 100 miles an hour wherever possible, fit as much in. I believe in not wasting any breath and just, going through life with joy and gusto and just getting things done. So I work with some amazing people, and I run a couple of companies for some brilliant people. I work on a board. I'm a chair of a couple of boards, international boards and local. I work on committees. Work-life balance for me is quite interesting in that there's a lot of work, but a lot of the work is part of where my joy comes from, and being able to give back to communities and be able to create. So I'm in Australia, 52 years of age. I'm kind of trying to, live life to the fullest and getting as much out of myself and out of my body that I possibly can, so that I can enjoy every moment and continue to create and connect and engage with the communities and companies and people that I work with.
Well, I know that you work with a good friend of ours, a mutual good friend of ours, and you guys absolutely, demolish any regrets or any doubt that a lot of these businesses may have on their past experiences or their future possibilities. And it's just so wonderful to see that you took that same thirst and that same drive and direction and you applied it to your own self and your own life. And it brings me to the first question I'd like to ask you. What were the pressures that you were holding on to and afraid to let go of before starting with autonomic coaching?
Um, the pressures were really about I was seeking something. I was looking for answers. I was looking for solutions, but I didn't have the question. I didn't have the context. So I think for me, what pressures was I holding on to? It was that constant seeking, that constant, where is my answer? Where can I be better? Where could I be more? Where could I be healthier? But there were missing some parts before that, and I'd been through so many different cycles, as many people have, the doctors, the naturopaths, the dietitians, you name it. I've tested it out. I'll try it. I'll do whatever it is to give it a go, because it could be the magic formula. Everything from Weight Watchers all the way through to allergy exams. And look, I was looking, and I was constantly finding, because I wasn't right, I could feel it, that I wasn't aligned, and I didn't feel like I'd been born with a brain that was super powerful and a body that just couldn't keep up. So it's like, where was that? So for me, the pressure was about trying not to seek anymore. It's like, stop searching and live in this moment. It's just, and kind of put the, not the skepticism, but put the the anxiety about, is this not the one? Do we have to keep searching? So it's like, that's really kind of the pressures that were just, otherwise I was just, once I kind of got to the stage where I had my trust and I knew that this was right, I was all in. There was no pressure. There was no issue. I was in. It's like, I'm
True,
in.
true. You were a better investor than Warren Buffett when it came to
Yeah.
autonomic coaching.
Yeah.
And
I'm in.
yeah, there was definitely no holding you back.
No.
Just to what you said before, unfortunately, in this industry, whether it be the wellness industry or the medical industry, there's so many flaws. What would you say would be the biggest flaw that you experienced in working with all these different practitioners? What was the most pressing and consistent flaw?
They would take what I was already on or was already diagnosed with or was already prescribed and try and change it. So, they're taking somebody else's work and trying to adjust it instead of starting with the clean slate and looking at all of me as I am now. I was, from when I was 20 to 30 to 40 and now I'm 50, I'm different. My body's different. My lifestyle is a little bit different. They never really looked at me. They asked the standard questions and they would try the standard things. And, God love them all for trying, but they weren't coming from the right space. The model wasn't right. The model was, right, let's see if we can get you off HRT. It's like, I'm not here about my HRT. I'm talking about the rest of the stuff. I wasn't on HRT in, my 30s and 40s. I still got the same problems. So that I think that's that's where it's broken. They're not looking at me. They're not listening to all of the things that I was saying. And rather than say, I don't know, or can't help you, I don't have the skill, they would placate me with something or just tell me to do something else, which was just wrong. That's just wrong. When you go to someone for advice and they're a specialist in there, they should say, I can't help you, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So the model was broken for me.
And I totally agree. And like, as we were speaking before we started the recording, I had similar experience as well. And I think that's the reason as to why you and I got on so well, is because, I think when birds of a feather flock together, we can also moan about certain things. It's good to moan, to get it out and not to hold on to it, right? To actually be able to take the ability to respond to it all. But I agree with you. I think, unfortunately, when it comes to any form of healing, whether it be a nutritionist or a doctor, often we get caught up in our own egos and we wait for the opportunity to say something rather than wait for the opportunity to hear something. And I was so happy to be able to hear what you had to say, and the whole team was, and the beautiful thing behind it is that autonomic coaching isn't just about me and you. It was about the entire family adopting you into a whole new identity of well-being, one which transcended that of right or wrong, but rather let's come to a better solution. Let's actually just come to a solution rather than a textbook idea. The next question I want to ask you, what was the breaking point that brought you to autonomic coaching?
I didn't really have a breaking point, I don't think, because I was recommended or referred by our mutual friend whom I love and adore and who I have a high level of trust with. Him and I have a great working relationship and I trust him, trust is a big thing for me, but it's one of my values. So when he said, I would like you to consider this, I listened and went down that path. So he was watching me work hard. He was watching me work, putting in the hours, putting in the joy. And he could see that my struggles with my strength and my energy were something that that this could be the solution for that. So it was really him that brought me to this point. And again, I would have been searching somewhere. I didn't know you were there. Otherwise, I would have been all over this years ago. It's like, where have you been all my life? So, so it was that introduction, and hopefully something like this can introduce somebody else to you, because that's what's so powerful. And when somebody you trust says, I think you should consider this, you do it. And I did.
Well, you know what? from what you're saying, I think, the mutual friend we're speaking about, obviously I don't want to mention names out of turn without having asked him to mention his name. But, when we talk about him, when we talk about referrals and we talk about the community, the majority, 95% of the people that we help are all referral based. And I think that it's such a huge testimony to the team as well as testimony to you guys, because in essence, if there isn't a synergy, there isn't going to be any results, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why there are results isn't just because of the work ethic and the research and everything else that we put into the equation. It's because people like you and so many others that we help are so open to communication, are so open to say, there's many a time where I've said to you, Heather, I don't actually know, but let me go and find out, right? And that's so powerful, because when we put ourselves forth as being a guru, we're putting ourselves on a pedestal to be knocked off, and there's no such thing. There's no hierarchy in the healing. And the only hierarchy that we ever come across is actually your own self-empowerment, that you have the hierarchy over your lower self, that your higher self has the opportunity to be expressed in the best possible way. And you did that, which
Yep.
is so outstanding. Which brings me to the next question I want to ask you. When did you realize you could overcome your limitations?
When I ran 5 kilometers. And I will share this, and people you'll get an idea of what kind of craziness is in my head. 3 years. I ran for 3 years trying to run 5 kilometers. I didn't give up, and I could not run 5. This is 5 kilometers nonstop. 3 years, right? I mean, seriously, I don't know where give up is, but 3 years. And then within 6 weeks, so within that 3 years, I would, calf muscle would go, then there'd be a toe, then there'd be this, then there'd be a shoulder, something would break somewhere. I used to say my warrior's broken again, ping, something else is gone. All I want to do is run 5 kilometers. I don't know why, I just did. Within 6 weeks of starting with you, within the supplements started, I was continued with my running program. I don't know what I was doing. I just kept going. And all of a sudden I ran 5 kilometers, and then I stopped because my watch said that I'd done it. And I was looking at it going, holy shit, I've got to do this again. So then 2 days later, I did it again. And I'm like, that's it. I can rule the world. So that was the moment. It was such a massive moment for me, because my body would not do what my brain wanted it to do. Something as simple as running around the block was it was hard. Something would go wrong all the time. Nah. So now I've done a half marathon and I'm lining up to do it again. So
just hold a second. Just take a few steps back. Repeat that. You've just done a what?
I did a half marathon. Yeah.
From not being able to run 5 kilometers, you've now smashed out 21 Ks.
Yep. So I did the 5, then I did the 5 again because I needed to make sure I could, it wasn't a fluke. Then I went, oh, I can do a 10. So then I went to a 10, and then, oh, I can do 10 faster. So I went faster, and then decided this body prefers the longer distance rather than the speed. So I did the half marathon last month and completed it in less time than I thought I would. So now I'm on a new program and I'm running it faster. So I'm going to run it again. And do a better time. So my training sort of kicked up. But the fact that I could run 5 kilometers was that moment where I went, oh, my world has just changed completely.
So for those out there that are skeptical, especially when they get to a certain age, because you know how it goes, we all get caught up with the narrative that society tells us that when we get to a certain age, certain things are going to happen and we're going to deteriorate, and we're not going to be able to live our lives the same way in which we used to. What do you have to say to those people?
Idiots. No, don't believe it. Don't believe it. You can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. Sure, my hips are not as sexy or as smooth as they were when I was 30, but I can run this now with ease. And my mantra is I'm running. It's like, I am a runner. I run tall and I run smooth, and I do. And I love that. And it's, for me, that's the thing. You don't have to be a runner. It could be whatever it was. But the fact that my body did not let me down, and there were no issues, it wasn't struggling. it was just a moment of pure, it was just pure joy. It was just, that was my big moment. It's like, I can run 5K. It's only taken me 3 years, but it's like within 6 weeks of the supplements, it's like you got it right from the start. There was all of this seeking, all of this trying to find this balance, this well-being, this how, whatever it was for me, I was searching and searching, and you got it. You nailed it for me within 6 weeks. And then I was doing the rest and doing the work, but just amazing. So anybody that's in doubt, don't let anyone look in the mirror and just go, you can do it. Anybody can do, if you want to do it, you can do it. There's
I think,
nothing.
Going back to what you said before, I reckon the reason why there's so much doubt is because there's so much division in the different sectors of health, right? So when we mentioned before, you started with HRT. We didn't put you on HRT. You already had been using HRT, and that's allopathy. You also have an underlying autoimmune condition that flares up and your skin becomes hyperinflamed and what have you. And sporadically, we have to use cortisone for that. And in the school of thoughts, you have your one side of the fence that is all about the doctors, the mainstream medicine, and you have the other side, which is more holistic medicine, should we say, alternative medicine is the technical word. But very few often between do they come together and they create a synergy. And I think this is a reason as to why it was so easy to strike that balance, because there wasn't anything, we didn't have to do it overall. We didn't have to completely disassemble your truck in order to put something new together again. You were already Optimus Prime. All that you needed was a new spark. Sorry for that. I'm a little bit of a nerd, as you know. But that spark that came back to you, was pretty easy to give, because all your body needed was the raw elements. The catalysts were already there. The messages that your body hadn't had or was in a lack of, you were already receiving that with the HRT that you were given. And there's always ways in which we can taper HRT dosages so it doesn't create harm to the body. But the reason why I bring this up, and I really want people to acknowledge this, is that drugs, medication is not bad if it is used correctly. It can actually prolong and improve the quality of your life. Drugs are bad when they are abused. Now, this is where media comes in, and it totally accentuates, what's the word I'm looking for here? Exaggerates. I'm looking for a particular word here. Just say exaggerates. Media loves to exaggerate, the impact that certain medications may have on a person's body, or even a diet. I mean, I won't forget a few years ago, it was all over in the metro in London. And in the metro in London, they were going on about how steak causes cancer, right? And was taken so far out of context. And this is the reason why people get confused. And no wonder when you came to us, you're probably in a state of anxiety of not knowing whether to trust or not to trust, because there's so much conflicting evidence out there. But just by putting in the raw material in a situation, an environment that already had the message to take that material and use it for you to run those 5Ks, took 6 weeks. It didn't take 6 years. It didn't take another 3 years. It took 6 weeks because you had it already. And once again, I'm going to reiterate, you were already Optimus Prime. You just needed a new spark. And that's what we gave.
I love my new spark.
I love your new spark too. Your new spark is shiny and glowy.
Yeah. We love a bit of sparkle.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, you should next time you're in South Africa, we're going to take you to a lovely festival out in the wilderness, and we all have a lot of sparkle going on there. I'll be looking forward to having you join in, running around the maypole trees and what have you. The next question I have to ask you is, how did autonomic coaching support you in doing this, in being able to overcome your limitations?
I think the key thing for me is that you listened. Everybody listened. They asked questions and they listened, because I had a lot of the answers and you needed them, but I didn't know how to give them. So it was about, you would listen to where I'm at. So it's like that check-in, that really listening to what's happening today, and then looking at it in terms of the bigger picture and not looking at it in isolation. I think that was what was really helpful for me. And I'm a thinking person. I go head before I go heart. So having that, knowing that was there, that knowledge was there, that communication was there, and then knowing that I could lean in and trust the process. I could lean in and then trust the information that was given to me. I never once got any information back and thought, nah, or like, no, what? No, I didn't. I just followed exactly what was said. Go get this. I went and got it. Go do this. I went and did it. So it's like, if I'm going to share the information and all the question, and that trust and that circle of communication is there, I will follow what is given to me, and then can continue to communicate. So having that, it was really important having those questions, and then looking at the bigger picture of what I was trying to achieve, where I was, who I am now, just all the results, and then comparing them, but also comparing how I was feeling and how my body was coping. Was that bigger picture was, I think, an essential element for me to be able to have the confidence to do the rest of the work, because it's part you and part me. So for me, that was really important.
I think, also diving into your experience is so very important. And that's where the weekly calls made a big difference. I think that's also the very much our USP to the experience of which you've had, is that it's not just about a one-time wonder. Often
No.
when we go to doctors and we sit in an office, we tell them our symptoms, they'll give us a medication, and off we go. But it's very rare that we get a follow-up call, right? And as that follow-up call, that actually gives you the understanding that, these people actually care. And because they care, it means that I have the right to care more about myself and be motivated in doing that. And take that information and make it tangible, because it is, objectively found from not only the numbers, from the biometrics that we've captured, but also from the symptoms and the experience that you've had in the previous week. And I know that you've been an absolute star. I mean, there's been days you hit your glucose in the fours recently. There've been a few days you hit your fours.
I had to look twice.
Unbelievable.
Like, wow,
I mean,
it's never been that low.
when you started, can you just let the people know out there, what was your glucose averaging when you started?
Oh, it was doing really well if it was sort of in the mid sixes. It was, I don't have diabetes. It was, so, I mean, my optimum, with not being a normal human, not diabetic, should be sort of, between that sort of 4.5 and that 5.5. But I was sort of 6, mid plus high, and there were sevens in there. There were a couple of sevens in there. And this was from fasting. This was not even any food. So and now we're sort of getting those fours in there, and there's kind of the low fives, and it's like, wow, very exciting.
I love the fact that you mentioned that it was even when you were fasting, because you were not a bad eater when you came to us. Yes, occasionally you may have had the treat here and there like the rest of us do, but you did not eat unhealthily. You had led a really healthy life. And yet, nonetheless, with all the efforts that you're putting in to live the best life that you could, you just weren't able to get those measurements back on point. And it just took that little bit of a catalyst to give you everything that you needed to run half a marathon, to think clearly, smashing out. I know you're about to open up your business, and it's your own business, if I'm not mistaken, that you're going to be opening up soon as well.
Yeah, I think it's an extension of my brand, because I'm doing so many things. It's kind of like you need to be able to have a product that the world can see, as opposed to, so the personal branding, working with a stylist, and
It's
got the
huge.
got
I
the
mean, that's
cute hair.
huge.
I know, it's a bit exciting as well. And it adds value to the person we know and love, because, it elevates my position in the marketplace as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on
Proud of
there.
you. He is absolutely so proud of you. Every single time him and I have a conversation, which happens every few weeks, I'll still help him with his blood chemistry as well. He always asks, "How's Heather doing?" And he's so elated by the fact that you're just accelerating into a whole new identity, which you already have.
Yeah.
And just to think, like a year ago, would you have thought that you would have been so amped and excited to be getting ready for photo shoots for your own personal brand? A year ago,
Yeah.
do you think that your mind
No,
would have been in this?
I wanted it, but I didn't know that it was possible.
I look there now. You've done it.
Mm.
I mean, You're doing it, Heather,
Yeah, I
and
know.
the
And I'm
impact
also
it's
doing
having.
it. There's more to come.
I have no doubt about that. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Next question I want to ask you is, what belief do you now have in your potential? This is a big one.
Yeah. I think that setting goals and putting these really big goals out in the future, these kinds of things I've always done because it's like chase it down. I'm goal orientated and I'm dedicated, but I've had to have different goals and I've had to operate in a different way because how do you set a goal when you're not sure what your potential is yet? So I've been on this whole new journey where all of my experiences and the decisions I need to make can't be based off my past experiences because I'm on a new journey. I feel better, I am better. So, what is my potential and what is my future? It's like, oh, it's not it's not fully, patched, it's not fully there yet. So I've been doing smaller things like, looking at, how do I feel? Where do I want to, give to the community? How do I see myself physically? Do we want red lipstick? Like what small things, but that are impactful in my, overall personal brand. How do I want to, what kind of energy, how do I want to present myself? Who do I want to play with? Who do I want to connect myself with? Those are the things I've been looking at rather than the bigger goals, because the bigger goals, it's not fully clear yet how big I can go because, can I rule the world?
I love that. Oh my, limitless identity within your own potential. That is one of the definitions of wisdom, is existential self understanding, right?
Mm,
And that's what you embraced. You've gone from a
yeah,
place of intellect, first going from knowledge, building up all the knowledge, what was going on in your body, intellect, trying to apply all that. And now you've come to a place of wisdom where you've actually realized that, yes, there's a lot of elements that are understanding and are logical, but there are also other elements that you need to let go of. And
mm,
you rather focus on the immediate sense of high vibration, being that of positive feelings of love, acceptance, giving, and gratitude, to allow for the bigger things to manifest rather than
yep,
focusing. I think a lot of people get caught up on that, in particular when it comes to like their bodies or their health. They focus
mm,
on the end goal rather than the moment. And
yep,
it's so wonderful to hear that you're focusing on your moment, because that's where the empowerment continues to be compounded.
yeah.
Magnificent,
And
absolutely magnificent.
things have opened up, opportunities. I've always been able to see them, but now I can see them longer term and I can see how things come together. My awareness of myself is enabling, it's enabling better business. It's enabling some interesting connections. It's enabling a whole heap of things that just come naturally and what I do because I'm open to it. And it's not that I'm goalless, because I do have, smaller goals, but they're connected to a bigger or a higher requirement, that higher level of happiness, or that higher connection, or leverage my time so that, my volunteer work and my board work and giving back to a community is impactful. It's like legacy, as opposed to, deliver these projects and I can go and build this and do this. It's a different type of energy that's used. It's a stronger energy and it's a more stable energy, which is just really nice.
I think you've gone from a place of, and we all sit there from a place of ego, and there's nothing wrong with ego. Ego
Mm,
helps to direct us in life, but you've gone from a place of ego into a place of passion, and you've
mm,
moved that because, and it's so wonderful to be able to understand and open the floodgates of passion when you start to love yourself. And I reckon that you definitely had a lot of respect for yourself, and you push yourself really hard. But what I've seen in you in the last few months is that you've really grown to love yourself. And the ways in which you present yourself going out to balls, the makeup, the dresses, the outfits, amazing, absolutely amazing. It's the Heather that I'm so privileged to be able to see and so privileged to know as well. And it's, yes, you're right. It has that impact. It has that radiated impact onto others and the projects that
Yeah.
we're involved with, because
Yeah.
you've created that stillness within your own vibration, which is
Yeah.
just commendable. Um, how do you now address the pressure points in your life?
In the past, I would be like a whirlwind tornado. The energy would be a tornado. Nobody would see anything, but it was all under the surface going crazy. And now I'm a lot more centered. So, I still fall into old habits occasionally and start thinking, question, anxiety, fear, question. And then I'm kind of like, well, hang on a minute. What are we doing here? It's a whirlwind. It's going on there. And I literally just take a breath and think, what outcome do I want? What we being fearful of? Because in the end, I am not scared of anything. So it just annoys me that fear comes up. So it's really now about, I take a moment to consider whatever it is that's putting pressure on me, or that is not guiding me where I want to go, or I'm finding I'm being guided by my subconscious or my past experiences or my fears. I just need to take a breath and just kind of think about what I'm doing, where I'm going. I can visualize myself on a different path or a different space. Get outside of my head is important, is get outside of my head, and I just recenter myself. It's like, just bring it back to, what's the purpose here? What are we trying to achieve? Just take a moment, think about it. And I've been able to let things lie, which is not normal for me, not in the past. It's like, I get things done and we don't let things lie. We chew on it like it's a bone. And, as they say in New Orleans, you wear it like a chewing gum, you put it in your hair and you chew it on again later. But no, so now I just can let things lie, and it's like I can come back to it. So I'm much more centered and there's less pressure. There's just less pressure.
I love that.
It's still
You've
there
allowed.
occasionally.
No, and it needs to be. I think, have to have these moments where we are motivated. In order to be motivated, a little bit of pressure is required to do things, but it's very important that we realize that we actually we are the controllers of our own pressure valves, and that we can continue to either allow the sympathetic, stressful gauges to keep on fluttering and increasing, or we can allow the valve to release some pressure and get into that parasympathetic state, that calm state, which I think you've learned so well as to how to embrace, knowing that when that critical drop-off point, when it comes around, what to do, not only
Yeah.
with your nutrition or with your training, but also with other lifestyle practice that you've embraced so well. And I think that's where the synergy behind this whole program has come to produce such great results in yourself and others, is because it's not just about the biochemistry, it's not just about the molecular diagnostics, which is what a lot of people just sell as being the holy grail. It's useful. It's very useful. It's good, great to get the blueprint going, but it's very much about the mind and the body
Yeah.
to allow, just to allow the flow of life to come through.
Fiona said to me once, and I've held this very close to me. She said, Heather, you need to be a compassionate witness. And in the past, people have said to me, you need to surrender. And I'm like, no, I am a warrior. We don't surrender. We go to the death. And that just, so she said to me, you need to, you are a compassionate witness to what you're experiencing or what you're in now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't need to fight. I don't need to rise up. I don't need to do any of that. I can just look in where I'm at, take a moment, have compassion for my fear, my anxiety, my stress, my excitement, whatever it is that's whirling around. Take a moment, acknowledge it, and then consider and be compassionate about how I move myself forward. And I love that. That really worked with my head. So, which is, like what you're saying, that head and body connection is so important.
So important. And I love Fiona. She's such a great mindset coach in the business, and done all of you such a great service. And I must say that sentiment that she put forth there is so powerful, right? Because often we get caught up in the first person perspective, and obviously it's natural to do so because we live in our own bodies. but we forget that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And when we actually realize that, we can also take a step back away from that experience if it becomes overwhelming, and
Yeah.
allow us to have the consciousness, or to regain consciousness, to be able to get the better solution to having
Yeah.
a better life, a better
Yeah.
outcome, what we want in life.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that.
this is a big one. This is a big question for you now. I love this question. Do you finally acknowledge yourself to be a heroine?
No,
Not yet. Not
no,
yet.
no.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm
That's
probably.
cool.
No, I'm not looking for that for that. That's not kind of where I'm going. I am looking at what type of footprint I leave and what type of legacy I leave. And one of the purposes of my life years ago, I decided that, why, people go, why am I here? And one of the reasons why I felt that I was here is that I want to be inspired and I want to inspire. So it's like, how can I inspire if I'm not inspired? So it's like being open to others. So I kind of, that's what I want to be able to inspire people, maybe with this story and my journey. And I'm inspired by others and by you and so many other people around. But heroin, no.
You know why I love that question so much? Because I knew that your answer was going to be along those lines. Because
Yeah.
before we started this video recording, you had mentioned that you just don't like that title about the hero story, right? And I knew why. And for me, it's because you've gone from a place where you were in a rush of performance. They need to perform, they need to do things, they need to be busy, they need to have pressure, 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 pressure. And you've allowed that to dissipate into a place where you now have the pleasure to perform. And this is the reason why the identity of being a hero no longer, or if it ever had done, doesn't serve you, because
Mm.
it's not about the pressure of upholding a platform. It's not
No.
about putting yourself on a pedestal. Now it's about allowing yourself to not need anything to stand up on, because everything is already around you, and you can
Yeah.
embrace everything around you rather than having to be above it. And that's so powerful, as to how you're able to have grown. I mean, I know that you and our mutual friend have done so well over the last year, and growing the business in such many directions, pardon, excuse my English. And I know that it's because the vibration of both of you has just elevated. I know that, on his end as well, he's just gone into such a quiet place of just serenity, and in yourself as well becomes so much more peaceful. And when we're in a state of peace, abundance, lovely so, comes into us, and those are the lives at which we touch as well. So thank you for that answer. It's an answer that most probably would not have expected, but it's an answer that I appreciate. So thank you for that, Heather. Next question I want to ask you: what advice would you give to those that are in doubt of being all they want to become?
I think doubt is a part of fear. So I think you need to have some courage to walk through the fear, or take it with you, drag it kicking and screaming, but go forward.
You're such a warrior. I love that, Heather.
Yeah, it exists. I have fear. I do, but it will never stop me. I will not allow it. So, you need to have a little bit of courage. Take a little bit of courage. Look at it, the worst case scenario is nothing works. It's not for you. The best case scenario is this, is 5 kilometer runs. And, it
1 kilometer runs,
5
21
kilometer, yeah,
kilometers.
20 plus kilometer now. But, it's, yeah, 100 kilometers in a couple of weeks. It's all good. So it's, I know, it's just like my running machine, but it's,
Yes.
don't let doubt stop you. I would also say to people, is what would you tell your best friend? Would you say to them, be doubtful, be fearful, don't do it, step back? No, you would encourage, you would support, you would say, get more information until you're comfortable. You would encourage. And if you didn't encourage, then you're not a very good friend. So do that for
So
yourself.
be
Right?
your own best friend. Learn to be your
Yeah.
own best friend.
Be my best friend. It's like, what advice would you give to your friend? Your friend would say, you know what, go for it. What have you got to lose? Take the fear. I'll be there to support you. Give yourself the support, the permission to step through the fear and give it a try.
I love that, Heather. That's so powerful. Absolutely. That right there, become your own best friend.
Yeah.
Right there. That's from what I got from it. And I think if people were more inclined to realize that that was an opportunity that they have within themselves, life would be so much more fun, right? It'd be so much less gloomy because it's often, it's the things that we continue to reiterate in our own minds that can either build us up or break us down.
Yeah.
And it's very important that what we hear is also the outcome of what we listen to. So also to not surround ourselves with naysayers, but to
Yep.
also get rid of those that are bringing us down. And I know it
Yep.
sounds horrible to say that, but really, if
No,
you want to have a better life, if you want to be a happier life, if anyone around you is creating doubt that you can't do something, whether it be becoming the next Elon Musk or whether it becoming the next Michael Schumacher, put them aside because that's your dream. It's your
yep.
dreams, and dreams are worth fighting for. Dreams are worth fighting for.
Anyone that doesn't support you, particularly in your, in your close friend, if they're not supporting you, they don't get you. They don't get you. So they're not really a friend because they don't know you. So
Mm.
surround yourself with people that you can support and get on board with and that you get support from. But yeah, be your own best friend.
Yeah, let's obliterate that doubt. Let's obliterate scarcity mindsets, right? Because
Yep.
you know what, they grow so quickly, but guess what grows quicker? Abundance. And when
Mm,
you allow that the people in your life to be full of abundance and you provide further provision for their own abundance, guess what? Light is going to shine through all that shadow. It's going to be amazing, absolutely
yeah.
amazing. I want to ask you this question. How do you believe autonomic coaching can be a catalyst to one's liberation of denial or disbelief in health and heart?
How do I believe you could liberate? Um, I don't think that you I mean, yeah, you're the catalyst. The person has to do it themselves. They have to be open to it.
Thank
Someone
you,
can't do
Heather.
it for you.
Thank
You- Sorry, I'm trying to answer the question so that people will get it. But it's I needed to be open to my past, my present, and my new journey. And by being open to that, and it's not easy to be open on a new journey. And people, unless you're in a new journey, we don't really understand. It's a bit like you've never been to a place, you don't speak the language, you've got nobody there to help, to help you. What do you do? How do you make decisions? How do you eat? You're going to rely on people that you trust. So,
Yes.
if you're in that space, then that's when autonomic coaching and all of the team, if you need to build and have that trust, go with the program, lean into the uncomfortable. Celebrate the wins. Some of them are teeny tiny, but celebrate them. And then that just steamrolls and continues to remove the doubts, to change the thinking, to go from a negative to, oh, maybe I can do this. All of a sudden, it's not a maybe, it's like, oh, I'm doing this. And then it's like, oh, and then I want to do this. So I think it comes from the person really, but the support of the system and the people is an important part of that.
I absolutely love that answer. And the reason why I love that answer is that you hit the nail perfectly on the head. None of us here are the liberators, but what we are the people that empower you to be able to liberate yourself. That's what we
Mm,
do. That's what we do here. We give you the tools to not only physically feel better, mentally be able to cope better, but very much so energetically being able to shift energy around you to a way in which you're just able to be free
mm,
of an identity that isn't yours, create a new narrative. Um,
yeah.
so that is a fantastic answer, and I couldn't applaud you more so for actually allowing people just to realize that truth, and that truth is really within them. All that needs to be done is to change a few elements to allow that truth to come to light, and for you to realize that you were always Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Once again,
With a big bright
um,
spark.
I tell you what, that spark is going to shine and shine and shine.
Yeah.
Would you recommend autonomic coaching would be of best service to?
Look, I think it would be of best service to anybody that If I look at myself, anybody that's like me or in the past that has been seeking or looking, not for the miracle pill. There is, life does not, that's your own creation. But if they're looking for a way to relearn, to connect, to be open to being on a new journey, experiencing emotions and thoughts and energy in a different way, if you're open to that, then all of the health and well-being, everything sort of comes. If you're a person that has a specific problem, and with women, it's, quite often it's a weight issue, it's an energy issue. I highly recommend women of, of my age in 50s with, HRT, with energy issues, with weight issues, is that our bodies are some way out of alignment and they're kind of a little bit out of whack. I mean, what you're able to accomplish and achieve is, for me, I'm living proof that, those things can come into alignment. And when they did, the weight started moving. I've lost nearly 17 kilos and we didn't do any weight. We did no weight. We focused not on a thing, no diet thing, no food, nothing. I was adamant that it was like, let's not look at that. Let's look at the other stuff, because that's all, and it's just happened by itself. So I would highly recommend, women of my age, or any women really, because hormones are an interesting beast in a woman. So, right? So, our moods and we're kind of like the tides, when we're in and we're out and we're kind of, and then the moon comes and all this stuff happens within our system. So having a more solid base for us to go through all of that, I would highly recommend that. But I think anybody that's looking for balance, whether it be in their body or their mind and their body, this is the place to come.
Thank you, Heather. And I must say, I have to applaud all the women that we've ever helped, because, and this is no stab at men at all, so guys, please don't take offense to this, but because you guys, you ladies, have had to contend with such fluctuating elements within your endocrine system from, the point of puberty, even before the point of puberty, there's also signs of higher estrogen levels and what have you in young girls. And girls pretty much mature quicker than boys for the most part. So when you're able to empower somebody that's had challenges from a very young age, from the rest of their life, to a point where they become more stable with their hormones and don't have to worry about that, because guys don't really have to worry as much. Don't get me wrong, we still have our fluctuations and what have you, but we don't have to worry nearly as much as women do. And when you can level the playing field, my gosh, our female clients like yourself, you guys absolutely are truly magnificent. The things that you guys get done are just huge, absolutely huge. And it's wonderful to be able to give that empowerment to women, for them not to feel debilitated. I think a lot of women that I've come to know and to have conversation with, they really feel debilitated and trapped in their bodies. They feel prisoners of their own bodies, and it need not be there, because a woman's body, and please, this is coming from a perspective of appreciation, so understand it as such, but a woman's body is probably the most beautiful creation that God, I'm a believer, has ever created. And if you think about it, the womb itself is a portal of life. So when you can really get a woman's body in optimal flow within itself, it's truly a magnificent, wondrous thing to see. And it's available. It's available, no matter if you're 20, 50, or 60 or 70. It really makes no difference about your age. Age is just a factor of society's understanding of what should happen. It doesn't need to be your understanding of what needs to happen. Really, chronological age doesn't give an indication of biological age whatsoever. You can reverse the hands of time biologically if you're willing to commit to yourself and understand what it is that your body wants from you through a multitude of mechanisms, like yourself, through introspection, through meditation, through spiritual practice, through psychological practice, or as well as looking into the science of things, looking into the biochemistry, looking into the molecular diagnostics, and combining all of that together. Heather, the outcome is you. The outcome is literally, you are the pudding. You are the pudding, and a fat-free version of that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And I am magnificent.
I love that. You are magnificent. You absolutely are. Heather, that's it for me today. And I just wanted to say from my heart, It's been an absolute pleasure, and it will continue to be a pleasure to be your friend, but an absolute pleasure to be a small catalyst along your journey. And I can only commend you on the bravery that you've had through this experience and the strength of which you have exonerated throughout all of this. And I know that you are going to not only be a spokesperson to so many other women out there that really need to hear this message, but also going to be a spokesperson to a lot of people that are generally just sitting in a state of denial and a state of slight poor self-esteem, that need that lift to realize that they are worth it, and to acknowledge that their self-worth comes from renewal of with their mind and their body through taking that step and being brave, holding on to that courage, becoming fearless, and realizing that there's no other way to be apart from embracing courage and being a lion amongst the lambs.
Yeah, bring on the lions. Bring on the lions. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing my journey, I think, with me, and being so open to the different stages that I've been on as my journey evolves and changes. It's been it's been and is and continues to be an honor to be part of your team, and to I feel so lucky that my trust has been honored and has been recognized, and is appreciated. So it goes both ways by everybody in the team. So you've got a really amazing group of people that you've got together, and it's they working together as a team is just, there's just nothing else, nothing that we can't accomplish. You get clients, and you get people coming through the system. Give it a go. Just do it. As I
Thank you,
said,
Heather.
take that fear, bring it kicking and screaming.
We all absolutely love you. Sonia, as you know, is very, very fond of you. She always speaks so highly of your journey, and your journey and Jill's journey has even been her own motivation to her own weight loss. And Sonia's lost almost 20 kilos now since she started.
So good.
I know, and it's because of you guys, that, and her. It's with a fusion between community, and iron sharpens iron, and there's no sharper blades. I think you guys should be more like a samurai sword, how sharp you guys are now. It's just so sharp, cutting through everything else, that just kept everybody from being what they can be and for what they deserve to be. So Heather, thank you so much for really sharing that journey, and thank you for also giving us the compliments, from Fiona to Sonia to Marina to myself and Dr. Khan. We really just appreciate you for being an absolute warrior, and you very much so are. And you're a role model. You're a role model to so many others out there, just to show that it is possible. It is possible to overcome any adversity that's thrown your way, from flare-ups from autoimmune disease to doubt and to anxiety and resistance, to be able to break through those low vibrations, to be at the high vibration that you are right now, and creativity, love, abundance, and an open heart space of optimism and courage. And that word courage, I love the fact that you use courage, because courage on the scale of vibrational scales of energy, it's 300. And basically what they mention is, on that scale, Jesus, Gandhi, Muhammad, all these ascended masters were at 1,000. And when you hit the level of courage, that's when you start going on the positive frequencies of vibration. And everything below that is a negative frequency of vibration. And we attract what we are. So your courage has attracted the outcome of the magnificent results that you've been able to achieve, not only physically, but more so energetically. You're now a orb that exudes the opportunity that so many people need. So thank you for that, Heather. And thank you for those who are watching. Stay tuned for more of Heather's journey, which we'll probably catch up with her in a few months' time to see where she's at. I want to hear that she's eventually hit a full marathon. We're eventually going to get you to tell us about that full marathon. I know it's going to happen one day. One day.
Oh yeah, well, thank you, Justin.
The comrades in the end. Take care, Heather.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye. Bye.